Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Rulla Alani, and today I wanted to share the top books that I read in 2020. Every year I try to up my goal of how many books I'm gonna read. This year I was hoping to read one book a week, but I ended up reading around 40 books instead of 50, which is fine because I've realized that it's all about the quality time that you spend reading a book rather than how many you read, right? Because you could have read 50 of them half-assed and not really understood it or really picked up the depth of the piece. Or you could read a few books across the entire year and you can really delve in. So this year I read a lot of wonderful books, and today I'm going to highlight some of my favorites. So the first one is actually a relationship book. It's called In Captivity, and it's by Esther Perel. Now, Esther Perel is a psychologist, a dating coach. She's basically an expert in her field, and she's had thousands of clients come to her for advice in so many types of relationships. Wow, this book covers monogamous relationships, it covers polygamous relationships, it covers homosexual relationships, it covers threesomes, open relationships. Like, a lot of topics are covered in this book, which I appreciate because I'm someone who's really only read books about traditional relationships, and I really want to expand my scope and learn more, especially as this channel is growing, as I'm trying to provide the best content for you guys. I want to have a more broad understanding of the subject, and wow, this book was amazing. I can go more into depth, but we have quite a lot of books to cover, so if you're just interested in like modern day relationships, and in specific this book, why it's called Mating in Captivity, Esther Perel is basically trying to search, how can we cultivate desire in today's world? How can we stay in long, happy marriages and cultivate love and desire in our own personal way? So I really like that she incorporates stories from different clients she's had and different tactics they've used to spice up their marriage or whatever it is, you know, change maybe their relationship dynamic or their attachment styles. Like, this book really covers a lot of interesting topics, and if you're just interested in relationships, connections, desire, sex, anything like that, I highly recommend it. So the next few books are in the kind of spiritual realm. They're the feel-good sort of books. They're self-development, self-help books, and I'm quickly gonna just mention this one, Oprah Winfrey's What I Know for Sure. I have an entirely other video about this book where I go through some of my favorite lessons that I learned from Oprah, so I highly recommend that video. I'll link it up above. But this book is just packed with wisdom. It's just packed with meaningful lessons that Oprah's learned along the way, and I highly recommend it to anyone, regardless of your age, your gender, anything. It's just a book that is going to make you smile, laugh, cry, and all the like, so highly recommend. Now the next book is The Shadow Effect. This is by Deepak Chopra, Debbie Ford, Marianne Williamson, and I'm probably butchering those names, so my apologies. I'm not completely sure if I finished this book in 2020 or late 2019, but I'm just going to mention it either way because wow, this was one of those books where there were such beautiful passages that I literally had to go back and read them like 2-3 times just to pick up the depth of the words. It's honestly a beautiful book, and it's all about the shadow, right? So really quick rundown. The shadow is the part of ourselves that we don't proudly show to the world, right? I know there's the Buddha saying that's goes face that we show to the world, and then there's the face that we show to like very close friends and family, and then there's a third face which is like our true self, and this is where our deepest, darkest parts of ourselves live, whether it be like addictions, whether it be heartbreaks that we've endured, anything, right? Trauma, all those things live in our shadow. So this book talks about ways that we can actually embrace our shadow rather than neglect it. And it talks about different people who actually ignored their shadow and the destructive effects of that. So it talks about like Tiger Woods, it talks about different people who had their entire life blow up in their face because they ignored their shadow, and it got to a point where their shadow just ate at them. So this book really teaches you the importance of balance, of moderation. Don't be extreme about anything, even if it's a good thing, because eventually you might just reach a wall or a breaking point, and then you will just do some horrible things, right? Because your shadow self will take over. So I highly recommend this book for anyone who's interested in spirituality, who's interested in psychology, and really just becoming a better individual. Okay, the next book is The War of Art, Break Through the Blocks and Win Your Inner Creative Battles. This is by Steven Pressfield. I've heard a lot of things about this book, and I also read this book while I was on vacation. I actually love to read while I'm on vacation or on an airplane, and this was one of those books that I just could not put down. It's beautiful, and I highly recommend this for anyone who's in the creative field. So anyone who's a creator, whether you make music or you're a dancer or you're a YouTuber or a writer, whatever that looks like, I highly recommend this book because it talks about how people who have typical jobs and careers have a list of duties and they have a boss who's checking in on them every day. On the other hand, creators are swayed, right? Creators are swayed by their emotions, by how they're feeling. That's why sometimes artists have years of not producing any work because they don't feel inspired. So this book talks about showing up to your passion project. It might not be your job, but you should show up every day and at least try, right? I know that back in the day when I was writing a lot of poetry, I used to think that I had to be in a poetic mode or like I had to be in a certain mood or a certain vibe. But then I realized I would never create the amount of poetry and I would never create the poetry I wanted if I just always waited to be inspired. It was up to me to find inspiration in the everyday. So now I know what certain things get me in a more poetic and a more creative mood. And those things for me are playing some music, writing without thinking so hard. Some different exercises like that can really help you just break those blocks. Because I know personally, I definitely have creative blocks. I mean, just this YouTube channel for a while, there was like months where I wasn't posting anything and I had so much content and information planned, but it was just getting ready and getting in front of the camera, like something just kept stopping me every single time. So this book will help anyone out there who's struggling through their creative blocks. Okay, my next top book is The Divine Matrix by Greg Braden. This book, I recommend this for all like the science nerds out there. If you were a physics major, a bio major, if you're into quantum physics and all of that, wow, this book will blow your mind. It talks about different experiments that have been done and different theories that basically show that there is a certain matrix that connects everything. It's just fascinating. I don't have the words to express this book because it talks about some really, really scientific concepts, but it breaks it down in a very digestible way. So if you just kind of want to get mind blown and learn about like how science and spirituality and all these things intersect, then I definitely recommend this one. Okay, and this one I just have to hold extra tight because wow, like I'm not that type of person who reads books over and over again. Like I'm kind of that person who reads a book once and I'm like, okay, I don't need to reread it. But this is one of those books like I could probably reread it. I haven't reread it, but I probably can. It is beautiful. It is a masterpiece, and it is Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, Living the Wisdom of the Tao. It's by Dr. Wayne Dyer. I know the book looks so cheesy. Like, don't judge the book by its cover, because I know when I received it from Amazon, I was like, this kind of looks cheesy. But this book is beautiful. The way that this book goes is it is split up into 81 verses. Technically, think of verses like biblical verses or verses in any religious text, right? But this doesn't need to be put in a religious context, right? So even if you're agnostic or if you don't believe in a specific religion, I highly recommend this book because it just talks about ways that you can cultivate peace and calm in your everyday life. This was one of the books that I kept next to my bed on my nightstand, and I would try to read a verse every single morning, and wow, it never disappointed. And so the format is it gives you a verse, and it's always written very, very beautifully, looks like a poem, and then it talks about that verse, right, just for a page or two, and then it talks about how you can implement this idea into your everyday life. And you saw that it was literally only like 3-4 pages. So what I really love about this is it gives you bite-sized verses that are beautiful, that will make your day, that will literally just put you on the right side of bed, and then it gives you actionable things that you can implement in your everyday life. So highly, highly, highly recommend this book. And I know that when I was reading it, I was posting a lot of the verses on Instagram, and oh my god, like almost every time I posted one, I was getting a bunch of messages of people asking me what this book was, and this is the one. Okay, now we are getting into the last category of books, and these are more business related books. So business, money, investing, that sort of thing. So the first one is The Compound Effect, Jumpstart Your Income, Your Life, Your Success by Darren Hardy. Now, I know there are so many self-help books like this out there, but what I really liked about this one is the examples that were provided and the simplicity of how this author breaks it down, right? This isn't one of those books that's like, oh, simple method, and then you open it and it ends up being super complex. It really is an easy way to compound everything in your life. And basically the whole golden rule is try to do something productive or positive every single day. Because when you cultivate those habits, it becomes second nature and you don't need to think about it anymore. And the nice thing about that is you want to trick your subconscious, because our brain is wired for us to not want to do things, to not want to do the things that we need to do. But if we create these daily habits, week after week after week, it becomes such a no-brainer. Like I know personally for my mom, she is like a workout queen, right? And I love it because she's at the point where skipping a workout does not make sense to her. She has no excuses for skipping a workout because she used the compound effect. Day after day, she did workouts, daily workouts, to the point where it just became part of her daily routine and she didn't need to think about it anymore. So I think this is a wonderful lesson to apply to all areas of our life. I know in investing, I definitely invest regularly every month, and it's become a habit. I don't even think about it. Now I know every month, oh, okay, I need to put money in my Roth IRA, and it's just second nature. Before, I used to have a monthly reminder on my phone that would say invest in your Roth IRA. But after like 6, 7, 8 months of doing that, now I already know without needing that reminder. So this book is really powerful because it tells you how just a small switch every single day can really add up to extraordinary results. Okay, the next top book of 2020 was the Bezos Letters. So this is 14 Principles to Grow Your Business Like Amazon, and it's written by Steve Anderson and his wife Karen Anderson. So just a disclaimer, this book is not written by Jeff Bezos, but what the Andersons did was they looked at all the, what is it called? The shareholder report. I think it's called the shareholder report. So for every publicly traded company like Google, Facebook, Apple, every quarter a statement is released, right, to the shareholders, to the people that own the stocks in that company. And the founder, in this case Jeff Bezos, gives everyone an update on the progress of the company, where they're headed, you know, what the vision is for the future, and all those things. It's kind of just like a snippet of what's going on and where everyone's investment dollars are going, right? So what the Andersons did was they broke down dozens of these shareholder reports to realize what key things 14 things makes Amazon the huge powerhouse that it is today. Wow, this book was amazing. One of the things that the Andersons talk about in this book is the day one mentality. And it's continuously approaching your business like it's day one, right? Now you would think, why would you want to do that? Well, because you never want to get comfortable, right? Because when a company gets comfortable, they start losing customers, they start half-assing things, they start not, meeting their quotas, making new innovative products. So Jeff Bezos talks about this day one mentality, and it's always feeling like you're in a startup, right? It's continuously seeking ways to innovate, to improve the customer experience, to just make your product or service better. And it talks about some specific ways he does it, and wow, this book really, really allowed me to dive deep into Jeff Bezos's brain and just learn a lot of valuable info. So highly recommend this one. Okay, the next one is your next 5 business moves. Master the art of business strategy. And this is by Patrick Bet-David. He actually has a YouTube channel, Valuetainment. I think that's his YouTube channel. But he has millions of subscribers, very inspiring story. He was an immigrant from Iran. And what I really, really like about this book, once again, is his specific examples about business strategy. One of the things he talks about in this book is tracking every single thing in your business. And he talks about his business in specific. He wasn't tracking his weekly and monthly sales. And when he did, he realized that all the sales were from February to May, and then from September to November. And then in winter and summer, there was this huge slump in sales. So he realized, okay, it's not that in winter or summer people are not interested in our products or services. It's that our team slacks off during those seasons because they kind of think that, oh, we're slow during this season, right? And it really made me think about this idea that a lot of businesses think that they have slow seasons. Like even me, in my business, in my tutoring business, for us, slow season is the summer, right? Because most students are getting ready for the next grade level. They might be going to a new school. And generally, most of our clients in the summer only really need SAT prep, ACT prep, or maybe just some supplemental learning so they don't lose any skills or knowledge. But then I thought about it and I said, hey, summer is not a slow season. If we pick up marketing and if we offer new things in the summer, that's going to attract more people then. So I got this idea from Patrick, and it made me want to track what we're doing, right? And even with advertisements, like he mentioned, think about how much money has been spent on advertising that was not tracked. And at the end of the day, the whole point of running an advertisement is to see how well it performs, right? Is it bringing customers? Is it not? And I thought to myself, oh my God, I have not been tracking my advertisements. I have not been tracking how many calls or leads I get per ad. So this really made me think about tracking more things, because you really can't measure what you don't track, right? So that was a key lesson that I learned in this book, and I highly recommend it to you all. I saved the biggest book for last. This is Money Master the Game, 7 Simple Steps to Financial Freedom. This is by Tony Robbins. If you don't know who Tony Robbins is, you have been sleeping under a rock, because he is one of the most motivational speakers, coaches, and just entrepreneurs. He's someone that inspires me. I've read many of his books. I follow him on all the social media platforms, and his story is just one that motivates me and really, really inspires me. So this book, I will say, is not just for anyone. If you are someone who's read a lot of other investing books and you want something that's more in-depth, more detailed, has more complex ideas in it, then I recommend this to you. Now, if you're just getting started with investing, or if you don't really know much, you could read this, but I would just start you off with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or a more basic book about investing, which I can definitely recommend to you guys. But if you already have a pretty basic intermediate knowledge and you want more advanced information, get this book. Okay, you don't need to read it super quickly. You can read just a little bit at a time. That's what I always tell people, because I know I used to get discouraged with big books. And I will say, I think this is one of the biggest books I have ever read. So just a disclaimer, I don't always just pick up like 600-page books. I'm usually really, really terrified of them. And as you guys could see, most of my preferred books are in like the 200 to 300-page range. So this was definitely a longer book than my comfort zone. It's about 600 pages, but wow, this book inspires you. This book talks to you about how billionaires invest, okay? Not millionaires, not six-figure earners, but billionaires, right? So there's a lot of knowledge jam-packed in this book. That's why it's so big. Tony Robbins went ahead and interviewed some of the richest people on the planet: Warren Buffett, Ray Dalio, a lot of amazing, impressive people, and this is what he came up with. So that wraps up all the books, the top books that I read in 2020. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this type of video. I know I haven't done many videos on books, but it's one of my huge passions, and I would love to share that aspect of my life with you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I will see you all very soon. Bye!